Have you ever heard of something getting stronger because it was attacked? I know, it sounds completely backward, right? Well, today we're diving into this incredible economic paradox, all about Australia's seemingly unbreakable global power. Yeah, I know. Every country that tried to replace Australia just made Australia more powerful. That sounds nuts, but here's the thing. It's not just a clever line. It's real economics, it's real geopolitics, and this crazy pattern just keeps repeating itself. So that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth is this possible? Let's break it down and see exactly how Australia pulls this off, again and again. Okay, our first stop is what you could call the Great Trade War pivot. This is a perfect example of how a massive political punishment didn't just fail, it spectacularly backfired. All right, so picture this. It's 2020. Australia makes a call for an independent investigation into where the pandemic came from. Now, China, which is by far its biggest trading partner, was not happy at all. They responded with what basically everyone called an unofficial trade war. On paper, this looked devastating for Australia. Everyone was watching, thinking this is going to hurt. But then, something nobody expected happened. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Look at this. For every single move China made, boom, massive tariffs on wine. Boom, a ban on coal. Australian producers didn't just roll over, they pivoted. And man, did they pivot fast. We're talking new markets for their wine in the UK and India, new buyers for their coal in Japan and South Korea. And ironically, being forced to find new customers actually made their whole export economies stronger and way more resilient in the long run. And just take a look at this chart for coal. It's wild. You see the exports to China basically flatline, gone. But then look at the other bars. Exports to places like India and Japan just shot through the roof. They were more than happy to snap up that high-quality Aussie coal. And China? Well, they ended up having to buy lower-quality coal from other places for more money. So you have to ask, who really got punished here? Okay, so that was case study one. But this pattern isn't a one-off. Let's move on to what you could call Australia's unbreakable iron fortress. We're talking about the one thing, the single raw material, that literally builds the modern world around us. So what's iron ore? You might not think about it much, but it's the main ingredient for steel. And steel? Well, steel is everything. It's the skyscraper you work in, the car you drive, the railway your train runs on. Without it, our world just doesn't exist as we know it. It is absolutely fundamental. And get this is the crazy part. China alone buys and uses over 70% of all the iron ore that gets shipped around the world by sea. I mean, that's a staggering number. And for years, they've been trying desperately to find a way to not be so reliant on Australia, which just happens to be the world's #1 supplier. So China had this big plan. It was called the Simandou project in Guinea, a massive, untapped source of iron ore. They threw billions of dollars at it thinking, this is it. This is our alternative. But it's been a total disaster. We're talking constant delays, political chaos, and just mind-boggling costs. And while all that was happening, Australia's existing operations were just humming along, becoming more automated, more efficient, and more dominant every single day. But the story doesn't end there. Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse for Australia's competitors, tragedy struck. In 2019, there was a horrific dam collapse in Brazil at a mine run by the company Vale. It was an absolute catastrophe. 270 people lost their lives, and it caused a huge part of Brazil's iron ore industry, Australia's main competitor, to just shut down. And from a purely economic standpoint, the effect was instantaneous. The world didn't suddenly need less iron ore, right? So every ton that Brazil couldn't supply had to come from somewhere. And where did everyone turn? Yep. Australia. They stepped right in to fill the gap, and their market share, the prices they could charge, everything just skyrocketed. Another competitor stumbles, and Australia gets even stronger. You see the pattern? Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's coal and iron ore, kind of old school stuff. But this pattern applies to the future, too. Let's talk about how Australia is set up to fuel tomorrow's world, because they are dominating the resources we're all going to need. I am talking about the absolute essentials for the new energy economy. You need lithium for all those electric car batteries. You need liquefied natural gas, or LNG, as a cleaner bridge fuel to get us away from coal. And you absolutely need rare earth elements for things like electric motors and all kinds of high-tech gear.
And just look at this chart for lithium. That massive slice of the pie, that's Australia. They completely dominate. And a big reason why is because they can get it out of the ground super fast from their mines to meet these crazy surges in demand. Like the one we're seeing right now with every car company scrambling to build EVs.
And this isn't just a what-if scenario. This is happening right now. When the war in Ukraine threw energy markets into chaos, who did everyone call for a stable supply? Australia, for their LNG. When China made noises about cutting off rare earth exports, sending the entire tech industry into a panic, where did the US and Japan start investing money to build a new reliable supply chain? You guessed it, Australia. It's like a rule. Whenever the world gets unstable, it seems to drive everyone right back to Australia.
Okay, so we've seen it with trade wars, we've seen it with iron ore, we've seen it with the fuels of the future. Let's pull this all together. Why? Why is Australia so irreplaceable? What's the secret sauce here? What is the pattern behind all this power?
The source we're looking at today just nails it with this quote. There is a pattern here that is almost unbelievable, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Every single time a rival has a problem or a country tries to play politics, Australia just seems to end up in an even better position.
And it really boils down to this four-part formula. Number one, they just have the right stuff in the ground, the perfect natural resources. Number two, they have amazing infrastructure to actually get that stuff out and ship it efficiently. Number three, they have a stable government, which makes them a super reliable partner. And four, their location is perfect. They're right on the doorstep of Asia's booming economies.
So, what's the big lesson here? It's actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. When it comes to the global economy, what's in the ground and where you are on the map, geology and geography, often beats politics. Every time. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. This whole transition to clean energy, it's not going to use fewer raw materials, it's going to use more. More lithium, more rare earths, more steel for things like wind turbines. So as the whole world shifts into this new age, is it possible that this strange, paradoxical power that Australia has is only going to get even stronger?